Omnimovie uses full-size VHS tapes, plays Hollywood movies, all your own.
Retro Review is right. I'm going to have to change that theme song because Mark is still not here. More to come on that in a bit. Filling in for Mark this week, friend of the show who's been on many times. I've been on a few of his shows. He has one of the best podcast names in the business, and it's only like his third, most frequented show or whatever. It's like the show that he doesn't even work on the most or doesn't have all that many episodes, but it's like the best fucking podcast name I've ever heard. That podcast, I'm going to bring this up every time you do the show because I think it's a genius name. That podcast is called Infinity Stones and Dragon Bones, but you probably know this guy from the Underrated Movie Podcast. His name is Derick McDu. Derick, welcome back.
Thank you so much for having me back. I'm really glad to be back and be here talking to you. And thank you for the kind words about Infinity Stones and Dragon Bones.
The best.
It's not a show that I do super often anymore, just because it only was when new things come out on from Marvel. But yeah, I had a lot of fun naming that one. I was like, ooh, something that rhymes. There we go, that'll work.
It is, for my money, and this is no shade to my other fellow podcasters, that is the best podcast name right now. I think that's the one to beat, in my opinion. It's catchy. It feels unique. If you Google it, 3 other podcasts aren't going to come up. There's one fucking podcast called Infinity Stones and Dragon Bones, and it's this guy's podcast. And you're also on another new, aren't you? Don't you have a third show? It's Midnight Film Society, right?
Midnight Film Society. Yeah, that's me and my buddy Damien do a podcast where we just kind of talk about newly released things, or like this last week, we covered Dune and then did our like Oscar predictions and stuff like that. So it's very conversational, just kind of like what you've been watching. That was one I just guessed it on a bunch until I somehow became the co-host.
Amazing.
That's how that
and
situation went down.
That title, Midnight Film Society, is that a reference to the Midnight Society from Are You Afraid of the Dark? It's got to be, right?
That's what I took it as, because he threw out, like, because it used to be called Can I Say Something, and when it became like I became a co-host and it became more film centric than just kind of like general, he threw out a bunch of titles, and one of them was Midnight Film Society, and that's what it reminded me of. And I was like, we've got to go for that one.
Yes, like, for the approval of the Midnight Society.
Exactly. Like every time when we start, I feel like we're exactly throwing the
dust on the tale of the Ryan Gosling one, whichever one he was on, I forgot. Here's the tale of like Bubo, what was the name of that clown? Bisbo.
Oh yeah, there's the one where they like go to Bisbo. Like nowhere or whatever. They like write something on the chalkboard and they erase it.
There's a really creepy one. One of my favorite Are You Afraid of the Darks. I feel like we should ask this question of Tommy Nuggets. He's like a huge Are You Afraid of the Dark fan. There was one where there was like a ghoul in like a new swimming pool that a family had installed, and every time they'd go to the pool, like nightmare fuel kind of ghoul would like pop out and scare the shit out of people. And it looked awesome.
That show was the 90s version. Like, it was like 90s kids version of 90s kids will know, but of like the Twilight Zone. That's exactly what it was.
Yes. Well, Nickelodeon had to compete with Tales from the Crypt somehow. They were like, that damn Crypt Keeper's getting a cartoon and a video game and a movie. We got to do something. So Derick and I are not here to talk about Are You Afraid of the Dark? That would be awesome if we were, by the way. But Derick is here to help me review David Cronenberg's 1999 film eXistenZ. And one of my favorite things ever has been, and I'm not saying this in a gatekeepy way, I'm old. So I was around when this movie originally came out. I saw it in the theater. This came out at like the perfect film school time for me, where all the film schoolies were going, because it was the new Cronenbergs, we were all going to see it. So recently this has kind of come back into the conversation, because I want to say Vinegar Syndrome put out a brand new 4K version of it. So a lot of these YouTubers, like physical media YouTubers that I follow, I'm not going to call them out here because I don't want anybody to be like, hey, fuck you, because I do love them. But it's been funny because they're younger guys. They're much younger. And I can tell who's watched the movie and who hasn't, because when they review the movie, there are some guys holding a 4K saying, hey, it's eXistenZ. by David Cronenberg. And I'm like, hey, had you popped that disc in for 5 seconds, you would have known, because literally they make a giant point of having characters out loud say eXistenZ, and they tell you how to spell it. They give you the fucking spelling. So just saying, I love some of these physical media YouTubers, but some of you fuckers have not done your homework and have not watched this movie. It's very obvious to me who is who.
Yeah, it sounds less like a philosophy textbook and more like a boner pill.
Yeah. Yes, it's like a gas station boner pill. That's exactly right. eXistenZ by David Cronenberg.
That's all I could think every time they say
Speaking of gas station boner pills, let's do a little housekeeping. And, I'm going to give you guys a little, let's give you guys a good sound here. Aspot, what do you got in the way of sounds?
Bring ambulance.
Bring ambulance. Okay, got it. Housekeeping for this week. So I teased it at the top, but I'm going to reveal it now. Mark is gone. No, I'm kidding. Mark has decided to extend his travels. Mark has been abroad for a month, and he literally messaged me like 2 weeks ago, and he was like, hey, I won't reveal why, but he's like, for personal reasons, I'm staying behind, staying on my travels, and I will not be back for like another month. So it hit me like a fucking cold drink of water. And I was like, oh, fuck, because we had all these plans for these shows. And so I had to kind of scramble. So big thanks to Derick for filling in at the last second for this week.
Yeah, my pleasure.
But yeah, that's the news on Mark. He has not quit the show. He's coming back. In fact, I think we're going to return to the theater next week. Mark will not be here for that. But we're going to do Ghostbusters at the end of this. Like, we're not going to talk about Ghostbusters. We're going to fucking talk about Ghostbusters. Mark returns for that, supposedly, unless he decides to stay back and do whatever he's doing. So that's the word now, people. He's fine. He's posting on Instagram. Go check him out. All is well, but he's not here. He's off seeing the world. So we wish him well. Quickly, the Matt and Mark Movie Show, our voicemail, 707-948-6707. If you leave us a voicemail, we may play it on the show. Across all socials, that's Instagram, TikTok, whatever, what have you. We're at the Matt and Mark Movie Show. You can find us there. And you can also find us on YouTube. Do go like and subscribe over there and all that cringy YouTube stuff. We have been putting up the new episodes on YouTube. This one will most definitely go up there, because we got Derick, who's got 3 podcasts. This is definitely going on the YouTube for sure. And lastly, do check out our Patreon. That's patreon.com/the Matt and Mark Movie Show. The link is in the show notes. For as little as $1, you can help support this pod, keep the fucking lights on, and get access to all kinds of extra content. A whole video podcast lives over there. We have several different video series, lots of stuff. So for $1, you unlock, I want to say like 50 hours of shit. I'm not even kidding.
It's good stuff.
I'm not saying all of it is good, but it's there.
I will say, I am a patron, and I will say it is good stuff over there. So take it from me, someone who gives his hard-earned dollar every month. It's well worth it.
Wow, thank you. Yes, so there you go. From the patron's mouth, from the horse's mouth, right there. Go check out our Patreon. All right, that's my spiel. Let's talk movies. So before we get into this, I have to ask, where do you stand on David Cronenberg, Derick? Do you like David Cronenberg's movies?
So it's interesting because I like the less Cronenberg movies. You know what I mean?
Like, we're talking like Eastern Promises and History of Violence, stuff like that.
Exactly. Yeah, movies where like Viggo Mortensen's wiener comes out and he fights a gangster. Like those are
could be 4 or 5 different movies. That was a missed opportunity, by the way, to not have that exact gangster movie with the title Captain Fantastic, which is another Viggo Mortensen movie, because that would have been amazing to have that be a naked gangster movie.
Right, exactly. That'd be incredible. But yeah, I like that kind of era of Cronenberg where he kind of got away from the shtick that he was known for, the body horror, like, and it became such a thing that even Rick and Morty would use like Cronenberg monsters to describe like these body.
Didn't they go to like
things.
A whole Cronenbergian universe?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so I'm more into those movies. I'm less into the like body horror, like weird monsters, like kind of like this gun is made of bones and shoots teeth stuff of Cronenberg.
So no Videodrome for you. Are you a Videodrome fan?
I have not seen it. I probably need to see more of his older stuff, but I've never really had a desire to, you know?
Yeah. I would say maybe a good stop for you if you haven't seen it yet is Scanners. The original Scanners
I need to
is
see
like
that.
a great It's not quite body horror, but it's got that sort of cool, like, art house sci-fi thing going on. That it's before he went full tilt body horror. I think once Videodrome happens, that's when the turn happens, and like the Cronenberg that we all know and sometimes love and sometimes make fun of happens, and then you get that long stretch of body horrors, what they were calling Long Live the New Flesh, right? You get that until you get to actually eXistenZ might be like the last. I mean, it was the last Cronenbergian movie for a while, because he did, History of Violence and Eastern Promises, Dangerous Method. He did these kinds of movies, and he did just recently come back with Crimes of the Future, which felt like vintage, like sick body horror Cronenberg.
He crossed over the body horror and the Vigo into one.
Yeah, yeah. He was like, I haven't done unspeakable things to Vigo's body yet. Let me correct my mistake. Yes, so... Okay, interesting to hear, because I like sort of all shades of Cronenberg. I think there were only two Cronenberg movies I did not like. I did not care for, I loved Crimes of the Future, by the way. I was one of the few people, I saw that, shout out to our buddies at Love of Cinema, who were like, you gotta go see Crimes of the Future. It was great, and I loved it. I did not like A Dangerous Method. Did you see that one?
I didn't. I didn't get a chance to see that one, and I haven't gotten a chance to even see Crimes of the Future yet. It was like on my list of movies to watch, but there's just so much stuff to see.
I know, it gets to be too much. I'm actually, and I'm fully willing to admit this, I am lately more interested in Brandon Cronenberg, his son, than I am the elder Cronenberg, because and I didn't love Possessor the way some people love Possessor, but his son's films are great, and he has such a unique vision, but he's finally kind of coming into his own a little bit. It feels like he's borrowing some of the traits from the dad, but he's got his own vision, especially with like Infinity Pool, I loved. It's a movie we've talked about on the show. And Antiviral, which I think is a movie that everybody should see. That's actually his son's first film. Great film. Possessor, I wasn't so hot on. It's fine.
I covered that on my show a few months back, and I was like, it's got some interesting ideas.
Yeah, I think, you know what the deal was with Possessor was, and I'm not trying to make this a Brandon Cronenberg show, but that trailer was fucking amazing. And that's one of those movies, there should be a list, I'm sure there's got to be a Letterboxd list of like movies that have fallen victim to their trailers. Like that their trailers had set such an unbelievable gauntlet that no movie could live up to. And I felt like Possessor just like fed the mob, and everybody was like, this looks incredible. Oh my God, what's he doing? What could it be? And it never reached the heights of that like fanboy frenzy of what that was going to be. It was actually a much simpler movie than the trailer sold.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, it's definitely one of those movies where I was like, You've got a lot of interesting stuff. Like, it feels like, I think it's like, it was his second movie, right? So it's like, it feels like it's good sophomore effort. Like, you're starting to kind of like figure stuff out. Obviously, he's very influenced by his dad, but like you said, he is taking things his own way. But yeah, I mean, I go into it on that episode. It's a movie that I said I didn't like it necessarily, but I'm really glad that I watched Possessor.
Yeah, I felt I felt similar. I was a little let down, but I was still happy to have seen it. I think Infinity Pool is the best thing that guy has made, and if anything, that tells me he's just going to be one of these directors like Robert Eggers who just grows stronger every movie. Every movie, he just raises his craft, his bar raises higher, So I'm definitely excited to see what he does next. We are talking about the elder Cronenberg Sr., if you will, who we've name dropped on the show. We've briefly discussed Crimes of the Future, but we have not done any classic Cronenberg films on this pod, and I wanted to correct that, and I'm actually glad you're here with me, Derick, to talk about eXistenZ. So when this came out, this was it had the unfortunate timing of being released right around the
greatest
time
movie year ever, arguably.
Yeah, not only the greatest movie year ever, but like it came out within like 3 weeks of The Matrix coming out. And when The Matrix happened, The Matrix, and I think this actually like bears repeating, The Matrix changed the landscape. Whether you like The Matrix or not, there's no denying that it completely changed the cinema landscape for fucking decades. And it just sucks because like the further you get away, like a nuclear bomb, the further you get away from it, right? Yeah, you got to worry about nuclear winter and shit like that. But like it's better to be at the ground point to get the detonation. And that's unfortunately what kind of happened with eXistenZ, because it was so close. and they're kind of covering the same idea. You have these two sci-fi movies that are covering the idea of the fabric of reality, what's real, what's not, sort of like how we're fed information, what we're told. And it just sucks because both movies to me are great. I'm just going to wear my cards on my sleeve. I think eXistenZ is great. And I think that for the first Matrix only, I'm sorry, the first Matrix only is great. I don't care for the other ones, but it just sucks because the Matrix took this movie out. The Matrix took out another movie. We were like big into this theme. It also took out Dark City, Alex Proyas. That was a movie that died and didn't get a resurgence until video. And same deal for, there was like a VR movie, I want to say, called 13th Floor.
Oh,
and that came out around the same time too. It was like a month or two, covering the same idea: people living in an alternate reality, using virtual reality, using technology to do that. So it just sucks because the Matrix was like a giant nuke that went off and destroyed 15 other things. So here we are. eXistenZ, in my opinion, still has not gotten its due. Dark City has gotten its due. I think that to some degree, the 13th Floor has kind of seen it pop up places, but no, like eXistenZ, it's like, again, it just got this 4K from Vinegar Syndrome, but I don't see enough people like waxing about it, talking about it. So I'm interested to hear. This was a first time view for you, right?
Yes, yeah, first time view for me. Love that. I was really curious to talk about this one because, like I said, I hadn't really dove into, I guess, what I'll call like the gross Cronenberg. Like because there's a lot of just like people putting things into like you're like fleshy pods and stuff, and like Willem Dafoe's like, I'm gonna drill a hole into your back. It's just very goopy. And like I feel like a lot of this is a metaphor for pegging and stuff like that.
Yes.
So yep. I'd never really gone into this side of Cronenberg before. So I was really interested to check it out, and it was kind of what I was expecting of a Cronenberg movie like this, where I didn't absolutely love it, but I didn't dislike it either. Like I'm kind of in the middle on this, and I'm really curious to hear what your thoughts about it, because I think based on Letterboxd, you might have enjoyed this one a bit more than me, but I did like it. I was curious, and speaking of Letterboxd, my review on Letterboxd.
Your review was great. I love the movie, but I had to laugh because your review was kind of bang on.
Yeah, my review was it's Inception for perverts, which like
it is though. It is.
Yeah.
Sorry, it is. It's people penetrating holes, doing things, and we don't know what's real and what's not real.
Yeah, exactly. Because there's like different layers and stuff, and it even ends. Like spoiler. Are we allowed to? Should we?
Oh yeah, you know what? Let's do that. I mean, it is a retro review, and people have had 20 plus years to see this, but spoiler gauntlet has been thrown.
But yeah, even that ending, when it's just like the same way that Inception ends with like the spinning top, and it's like, oh, are we in reality? Yes. When they come out and they're like, they shoot all the game designers, they're like, I was waiting for that. I was waiting for it to be like, oh, is this going to be like another level? Because the whole time I was like, well, this is all clearly a game. Like, and then they go up to that one level, and it's like, we never know if they've like quote unquote woken up or gotten to that last tier of reality, and they just kind of like look at each other and point the guns, and then I was like, and then smash the credits. I thought that was a great ending.
I even think the ending of the movie has that one guy say, are we still in the game or not?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like making it very clear what the thesis of the movie is.
Yeah, and so in the same way that like The Matrix and these other great 99 movies, even something like Fight Club, with him having his whole other identity and stuff, you never really, like, all these questions of identity and free will and what is even real, like we're in this other reality and it's all of that, but wrapped up in a gross, fleshy Cronenberg package where they're gonna lube up a fucking umbilical cord and shove it up your ass,
And they keep doing it. That's what's funny. Is like just like the different levels of the game, just like Inception, right? The different levels of the game. Mm-hmm. They keep having to lubricate the hole and insert something. Every level. It doesn't matter if it's the game, a game within a game, a false identity, maybe reality. Something's going in. Like, just accept it. That's what's happening.
just a lot, and the sound design is always really good on it. It's always like,
Yes.
there's
Oh yeah, and that part I imagine even more so than some of the visuals. I imagine Cronenberg having a good time in the Foley booth, being like, hey, we have Foley artists and people who just do the sound design. David, you don't need to be here. We'll send you scenes and you could just approve them. And I can imagine him being like, no. It's like a Sunday and he's decided to give up his free time so he could be in the Foley booth. So he'd be like, I think it sounds more like, and they're like, okay.
You should just do ASMR, Matt. Just like totally. start a spin-off channel where you just make sounds like that.
That's going to be my second podcast. It's going to be the Matt ASMR show. It's just me doing ASMR things. I love this movie. But here's why. I know some people make fun of me because I have weird reasons for loving things, but I wear my heart on my sleeve. This is what I love about this movie. This movie exists, and this sounds stupid, but bear with me. This movie exists in a different place, and I'm not saying it exists clearly in a virtual world or, they're clearly in some kind of near future where the tech is weird. It's not our world. It's a time. No, I'm saying not the reality of the movie. I'm saying the tone of the movie and its performances to me are almost completely inhuman. I feel like the movie has been infiltrated by aliens. I'm not kidding. Because the acting is so strange. The only person who's acting kind of like himself is Willem Dafoe. Because he doesn't have much to do. He gets a few scenes. His job is to show up, be big, showy, and creepy. We've seen Willem Dafoe do that. So even when he showed up, I remember the first time I saw him, I kind of felt safe because I was seeing a normal person I know do the thing they're kind of known for doing. But like, Jude Law and this is not to knock the actors. They're all fucking great. But they are acting in a way that's other. Like, they're not acting like they're, hey, we're in a movie and we're being actors. Like, they have been either directed to act strangely on purpose, or they're just bringing it because they're like, hey, it's a Cronenberg movie and I gotta be as weird as fucking possible. Because if you listen to the line reads from Jennifer Jason Leigh, and Jude Law, and even somebody like Christopher Eccleston, who's in this movie, has like a completely thankless role. Like, the way they're delivering their lines, it's all very stilted and weird. And it's hey, we're in, you could chalk that up to the characters being in a game world. So they're acting weird or like NPC-ish. No, everybody's delivery, whether in a game or reality, they're all acting strange. Do you know what I mean?
I totally what you mean.
It's
I was going to say NPC like, and I think it's interesting too, because it's even when they are in the real world, it's like, oh, are we? Because they're still acting weird.
Yes,
and that's why I think the accent stuff is so interesting and weird because sometimes people are like, oh, like Ian Holmes' accent is not good in this, or like Jude Law is not doing a very good American accent. But in the last scene, they're all doing their real voices, and they even comment like that accent was not very good. And you're like, that was just supposed to be a bad accent?
Yes, but even when they're saying, we're presumably in reality, and they're like, my accent was terrible, even their delivery of that line, to me, reads strange. Like,
yes.
And it's one of the things I love about this movie, is that's what I mean when I say, I feel like aliens have taken over this movie. Like, it's people not acting human, but trying their best to sound human. It's very weird. That might just be me going off into the weeds on that. But it was one of the things I picked up on right away. I love the line deliveries. I love silly voices. There's a Chinese waiter in this movie who, at first in the game, you could chalk it up to him being over the top and weird, like a comic book character. But then, when the real guy is revealed at the end, he's talking exactly like the character in the game, and he even comments how dumb his character sounded. So it's clearly a choice. It's a choice that's being made. And that choice, what I want to call, like, just weird, right, is brought and seeped into every facet of the movie. It starts with the acting, but I'm talking like the design, the visual design of the tech in the movie, right? You have these things called game pods, which are basically like, they look like fetuses to me. They're like fetuses, and the cords are called umbi cords. It's a whole different experience, by the way, if you watch this with captions, because then you really get like the weird lingo. there are also these things called bioports, right? It's got a language all its own. And the design, of course, is trademark Cronenberg, right? We were talking about orifices and cords having to go in. And like, that's Cronenberg just being himself. He's a perv. We love him.
Yeah.
But the design is weird and off-putting. The weaponry, right? The bone gun that fires teeth is weird and off-putting. Even the bit where the dog comes in and they pull the piece of the dog, like the dog was wearing basically like a cover so that it could like shield two holstered pistols. Even that is weird. It's also weird that they keep referencing the dog in every reality. Like, my dog brought this gun to me. My dog brought this to me. Like, there's weird running through every frame. And I think that's why I like it, because it feels to me like no other sci-fi movie, especially when you line it up with other, hey, here's The Matrix. Hey, here's Dark City. These are movies I like. Those feel like movies where people are trying to sell you on the idea, oh, fuck, we're in an alternate reality. This feels like David Cronenberg took us to another planet, in my opinion. And that's kind of what I love about it.
Yeah, no, that's a really interesting, comparison, because it does feel very, because obviously this is a movie about video games to a certain extent, and it does feel really influenced by especially like the weird stilted qualities of the video games of the 90s. When you'd have like somebody weird and blocky running around in GoldenEye, clearly isn't Pierce Brosnan doing the voice or anything. Like, you have all that, and there's always like weird dialogue, and like people aren't recording things at the same time. It kind of gives you that same tone and feel of a very 90s like PS1 Nintendo 64 era game, and like even the way like the PlayStation it's like a very curved and weird, and like the pods themselves would be like fleshy versions of that, they'd be like pulsating, but they have that kind of like PS like Sony PlayStation kind of like feel,
right? Take this real thing and make it gooier, basically. Is the note, right?
there's a lot of that, and it just, I don't know, I love this because it's not afraid to be gross, it's just real, just fucking nasty, this movie.
Yeah, it really is. And even the there's a lot of, not surprising, but the brutality, the level of violence in the movie I find surprising, but even that violence is gross. There's a bit where, I feel like we've already thrown the spoiler tag, but like there's a bit where a bomb goes off in Jude Law's back, and for some reason it's disgusting. The placement of it, the way the squib goes off, the way he falls. He has this kind of perverted smile when he falls. I don't know if you noticed that. It was just like really, it's just brutal and uncomfortable, but in a great way. We haven't even really talked about what the kind of plot is for this movie. So essentially, and I'll keep it brief because I think you can get really in the weeds with this, is a bunch of people show up to test a new video game, and they're in a group. But since it's David Cronenberg world, they're like in a church or something very strange. And they hook up to these, fleshy pods, these game pods, and they enter this virtual reality simulation, which doesn't look like vector art. It looks like real life. And we're told it's called eXistenZ. And while this is happening, an assassination attempt is made on the game designer who is there demonstrating the game for everyone, and that's Jennifer Jason Leigh. And she has to go on the run with Jude Law. And then it's a question of throughout the movie, they're on the run, but it's like, who's trying to kill them? Why are they trying to kill them? And then you also, in between, get all the weird Cronenberg stuff. Like, they want to sleep together. She wants to put stuff in his butt. She wants to put stuff in the bioport. They keep talking about the bioport. Now they're injecting something else into, like, the spinal fluid. That's really what it is. But the crazy part is like, there's actually a lot of plot. Like, when you start to put things into perspective, like, oh, there's like a mole storyline that's happening between this gaming company and a movement of they're called the realist movement. They're people who reject virtual reality. They want real life, and they think that video game designers are like the devil. That stuff gets dropped. I'm talking like in the last 10 minutes of the movie. It's crazy because up to that point, you're just kind of experiencing the world with Jude Law. And I actually think that's smart from a screenwriting perspective because it doesn't get so bogged down in the details of a heavy story where you're losing track of things. You're just experiencing the world with Jude Law to the point where he's like such a cipher for the audience that he's literally asking questions as you're asking them in your mind. Like, well, if we're putting a hole in someone's back to connect a game pod to, wouldn't that get infected? And he literally says, isn't the hole in my back going to get infected? And she's like, no, you have a hole here in your mouth. Don't be an idiot. And he's like, oh, yeah. Or like, hey, what happens to my body while I'm in here? He literally asked that. Like, you get introduced to the world, and you would think a movie made like that doesn't hold up to repeat viewings. You're like, I've been through the ride once, so his intro tutorial act is going to get old. It actually, for me, it didn't. Every time I watch the movie, I glean more from it because of the different levels of like me questioning if what I'm seeing is real or not. Because I don't even know if the end of this movie is real.
Yeah, and I should rewatch it, honestly, because I'm someone who, you know, I obviously brought up the parallels between this and Inception. I love rewatching Inception. I think that, you know, I don't mind the exposition, you know, Nolan's exposition or Cronenberg's exposition of like explaining it, because I think the world building in both of those films is really strong and interesting, and you are always catching more things. And in this one too, because they're always going down different levels and you're never really sure, and then that there is that reveal at the end of like, oh, all of this was a video game except for maybe the last 5 minutes, and even maybe that was a video game. There's points where it's like, oh, does this plot really matter because this is just a game plot? Well, actually, all of this is a game, so it's just layers upon layers upon layers. It's just like the grossest Russian nesting doll you've ever seen.
Yeah, exactly right. It's like that abomination at the end of Men, right? That just keeps just keeps like spouting and spouting. That's what this movie is. I have to say, though, well, I know we've been talking about The Matrix a lot, and I think I actually alluded to this in my own Letterboxd review. I do think it's a genuine crime that we got 3 shitty Matrix sequels, and eXistenZ, we got 1 movie, because eXistenZ actually has real lore underneath it that you could dig out and just keep exploring, especially if we're going to talk about things in a real world where there are like gaming companies who treat their designers like celebrities and would attempt to assassinate them if they can't poach them, that there's a movement, you know, for people who reject games altogether and they're willing to kill for it. Like, there's lore steeped in every frame of this thing, and it sucks that it exists only in this little hour and 40-minute movie. That's what you get. There's been no comic books of video games. There's no animatrix for this, even though I think that would be awesome. I think some weird, you know, enterprising anime director who's not afraid to do gross shit. You know, I haven't seen any of those Demon Slayer movies, but like, get those guys, make some eXistenZ anime. I think that would be amazing. I'm sure I'm the only person who wants that, but
I would be down for like some like an animatrix of this, you know, like the eXistenZ whatever.
Yes.
Like that would be cool, but like I wouldn't want, because like the Matrix 1, like you said, such a good movie, and the sequels are not so much. Like, I respect them that they are trying something, but they don't really ever hit the mark, I feel like. And the Wachowskis are like some of my favorite directors. I like all of the Wachowski movies kind of except for the sequels. I even like Jupiter Ascending, which is a bad movie, but I love it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Speed Racer is one of my favorite things ever made.
First movie we ever covered on Underrated.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
a perfect movie. I
fucking great
love
movie.
that movie.
Great
Incredible.
movie.
But yeah, like I kind of like that this is the end. Because like if you make like this a trilogy or like make it 4 movies or whatever, you kind of have to answer that question at the end of like, is this a game? I mean, or if you don't answer it, you have to really jump through some hoops not to answer it and to keep that conceit going for another 2 films, because it works as like a 5-minute like end of the movie. But you know, if we get a whole nother movie, I kind of like that that's just how it ends. We never know, you know, if they're out of the game, in the same way that a lot of the other great like kind of like what the fuck endings, you know, I love a what the fuck ending.
I actually think, you know what, that's very well said. I didn't think about it like that. Like, the question is the answer. It's like, you have it, but you're right. If you have other movies and animatrixes and other things, you have to go start over explaining things, and that's inevitably when things start to crack, right? Matrix started to do that and started to catch itself into, oh, here there's an architect and there's another guy and there's Zion, and they introduced all this crap that everybody hated.
Yeah, there's just so much lore in those movies, and the most interesting thing I think about the Matrix sequels, or something that is present here too, is that there's clues in the sequels that, at least the second one especially, that the real world is not the real world, and it's just another level of the Matrix.
Right.
And I think that if they had played more into that, like they do with the end of this movie, where it's like, oh, why can Neo control robots in the real world? That doesn't make any sense, and it's literally never explained. And I think that, yeah, that idea of like, no, even when you get out of the Matrix at the end, you're still in another level of the Matrix. And like, there's all these insane theories about like, oh, like maybe Neo and Trinity are programs and they're teaching them the love of humanity. Like, you have to kind of like make those kind of logical jumps to keep something like that that interesting. Whereas here, it's clean, it's done, it's one movie. It's kind of like a perfect little ending for this story, you know? And sometimes things become too popular, become victims of their own success. Yes. And so it's nice when something's... And I don't know if this one's like not necessarily a cult hit, like you said, it's not even a Dark City. Hopefully it does get a reappraisal. I would like to see that at some point, especially as, you know, we seem to be like respecting both the Cronenbergs a lot in our kind of the modern age of filmmakers, you know?
Yeah. They've kind of escaped the blade a little bit because I think a lot of those guys' reappraisals have kind of been taken out of people like, oh, you know, we sort of see the seams. I think these two guys, the Cronenberg name is still strong in 2024 to make it sound like a propaganda poster. I think Derick is right. You know what? I rescind my statement. I don't need an eXistenZ animatrix. It will only fuck things up. Thank you, Derick.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you for showing me the error of my ways. Hey, we haven't talked about any of the actors in this movie. Did you have a favorite performance? Was there anybody that stood out to you? Was there anybody that negatively stood out to you?
Ooh, because like it's a lot of except for Jude Law, it's mostly character actors that I like a lot. Like Jennifer Jason Leigh is like always great. I think she stands out as like kind of the MVP in this. But then there's a lot of like, you know, smaller people who like come in and out. You know, like Sarah Pauli's in there. Obviously, we talked about how weird and good Willem Dafoe is. I'm a big Christopher Eccleston fan. I'm not from Doctor Who. I don't really watch Doctor Who. But from like The Leftovers, I think he on that show is absolutely gives one of the greatest performances of all time. So
also, thank you for not pretending that you watch Doctor Who. Oh. Because so many people, I think they're daunted by the amount of Doctor Who there is that they will just fucking fudge. And nobody can call them on it. They could be like, yeah, I know him from Doctor Who. Who the fuck's going to pour through and be like, yeah, that guy definitely watched Doctor Who? No one can call you on it. It's like the ultimate trump card. You could just kind of lie your way through Doctor Who. Thank you for being honest about it. I haven't watched any fucking Doctor Who.
Good. I'm glad I'm not the only fucking nerd out here who doesn't.
There's too much other shit, and I'm sorry. I can't just jump in. Well, some people are like, well, just watch this Doctor. I'm like, no. The completist in me will not allow this to happen, and I'm sorry. I don't have time to go back to the 60s and watch everything from 1960 until now. Like my life will be over. It'll be over.
Yeah, and if you want to talk about something that, you know, I'm glad that this ended, something that will never end, will keep going forever and just complicate its mythology more and more further, is Doctor Who. So yeah.
Plus, I'd rather watch Inspector Spacetime. That's where my community
is. Yes. Oh my God, Inspector Spacetime. Like
Inspector Spacetime all the way.
Logons, Doctor. It's so good.
Yeah. The Inspector and Reggie. Yeah, I agree with you. Jennifer Jason Leigh is great in this, even though she is weird. Okay, let me ask you about something. Speaking of Jennifer Jason Leigh, first off, she lost her part in Eyes Wide Shut because of this movie. She was to be in Eyes Wide Shut and had shot her scenes and then made eXistenZ. And while they were making eXistenZ, Stanley Kubrick was like, I'm doing a bunch of reshoots and we need you to come back. And she was like, I have to make a decision. I can leave eXistenZ, or I can leave eXistenZ and go be in Eyes Wide Shut and refilm my scenes, or I can just stay with David. And that's what she did. So she lost her part in Eyes Wide Shut so she could make this movie. I don't know how she feels about that. But she is certainly acting like she's the star of this movie. And I think that's probably what the attraction was for her, for sure.
Right.
Because she really does like, she gives it her all. And she is super fucking weird in it. Like, she's there to be a femme fatale, but I like this kind of version of the femme fatale, this idea, because it's a femme fatale that is not usually, when we think femme fatale, they're in control. They're always in control. They know how to get that guy to do whatever they want. They're always kind of 2 steps ahead. This is the first femme fatale where it's like, is someone controlling her, or is she in control of herself? I don't know. And that's because the game, you never know who's in control. And she plays that really well. And that's the sequence I wanted to bring up to you. There's a bit in this movie where it's kind of suggested, it's almost like making you, the audience, doubt that she is, that she can be trusted with Jude Law. There's a bit where he's like, it's like, oh, that's where it is. They're at the trout farm inside the game. They're like a game within a game, and he's like assuming a different identity, and he finds her, and she's like a different person inside the trout farm. And he goes to ask her a question. He's like, oh, I found the guy. He says, we have to go to a fucking Chinese restaurant in the woods. And she just repeats her dialogue.
Yes.
Almost like an NPC. And then the next shot, it's like intentional. The next shot is them walking to the restaurant, and he looks behind her, and he's very weirded out. You can tell he's uncomfortable. And she's just looking forward. Like she's an NPC with all the other NPCs marching to the restaurant. And at the restaurant, before he shoots the waiter, she's acting really fucking weird. She's just playing with her chopsticks. She's like not looking at anybody specifically. She doesn't crack until he says, I don't want to do this anymore. And that's when the real Jennifer Jason Leigh comes out. But it's almost like a moment of like, were we supposed to doubt her seriously? Or is she just being fucking weird? That's what the thing I was talking about earlier. Is it that thing of that Cronenberg, that like extra layer of reality? Like, is she just acting weird to be fucking weird? Or was she directed to do that? That's like the question I have for all these scenes.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting question. And because I think it calls back to like earlier when they're doing some of the exposition and she's talking about like, oh, like there's all this stuff about your character would want to do this. Like, even if it goes against like your morals, this is something that your character would do. And it kind of ties back into that whole free will question. And I think that, that a lot of 99 movies were addressing. But I think this one does a really interesting job of addressing it by tying it into video games. It's like being like, okay, maybe the reason she is acting weird is because we need the video game plot to go along. She even says that like you can only really make this choice.
Right. You have to move the story forward. Right.
And it's really interesting because I think about this a lot. Like, compare a video game like something like Mass Effect, which is, something that supposedly has like all these different avenues you can go down and all these different things you can go down to something like The Last of Us, where it's like, yeah, you are controlling this person. You are theoretically the one in control, but there really is no free will or choice in that game. You have to do all of the things in that game. You have to go along all these steps, And I think of something like, when I would play Legend of Zelda as a kid, the Ocarina of Time, you have to, as a kid, it's a dumb idea to get all these stones because Ganondorf is going to steal them or whatever. But if you don't do that, then you can't continue in the game.
There's no game.
Exactly. There's no choice. So the choice is either just don't play the game or do something dumb, and the games really take away our free will, and this is, I think, commenting on like, yeah, that happens in games, but it also happens in wider society at large. And I think that, as like so many people in the 90s were like pointing out like, yeah, man, what's it all mean? This is like, I'm being kind of, a little bit flippant, but like I think that's what this movie is saying too. It's just like, yeah, we are presented with all of these choices, but we have to go along and do these things and basically become an NPC, even if it's not something we would agree with. And I think that little blip where she kind of like falls into her programming or whatever for the game so that it has to progress. And that's why she, I think, re-asks that question, is because it's like, no, this is not the question you're supposed to be acting here. It's like either the programming taking over, or it's maybe because we're not really supposed to be sure what her motives are. I think it all ties into the free will question.
Yeah, absolutely. I am just stumped by that idea. I love that idea. Not only what's real within the fiction of the movie, but again, were you directed to act this way? Is this a choice? Is this moving the story forward? Because like I would argue there are scenes in this movie, and I love this movie, but there are scenes in this movie that don't move the story forward that I think are there strictly to help sell you on an idea or to misdirect you. Like there's a scene with Jennifer Jason Leigh. It's when Jude Law, the more interesting bit is Jude Law getting the bioport installed with Willem Dafoe, where he's like trying to do it, and they're fighting, right? Mm-hmm. But we get this whole languishy bit outside with her where she's just like kicking rocks, touching the gas station pump. She finds the two-headed amphibian, and you could argue, yeah, Matt, that's there to show you, oh, look, it's a mutation. This is kind of how things are in this reality. Later, we're going to see the bone gun that comes from a mutation. That could be like where they're just seeding that to pay that off later. I would argue that's David Cronenberg telling you, especially for first-time viewers, you're in the game. Because she even says earlier, I just like to walk around in eXistenZ and explore. I just like to look at things. And everybody else is moving the story forward. Jude Law is getting the bioport. Willem Dafoe, who has a ridiculous name, his name is Gas, which I think is hilarious. Gas is trying to install the bio. She's just outside having like a fucking stroll, and she finds that little amphibian. And I think that's Cronenberg's way of saying, this is fake.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of signposts to be like, this is fake. There's stuff like that. There's the big, and it's probably because it's like, oh, it's like a trope. I've seen a lot of movies. I figured it would probably be fake. But there's also the thing of like, oh, there's the gun. You see that bone gun at the first scene when we're in, quote, the real world. And then it makes its reappearance in the game when she, as the designer, would have had no reason to, like, she had not seen it, quote unquote, in the real world. So it's like lots of little clues like that. And I think all of that stuff is, ties into that same free will question. And it makes it more of a question. It makes it more like you are wondering all these things. You are wondering, like, what's real? What choices do we have? And I just like the way that the movie doesn't end on a definitive statement of whether or not they're in the game. I don't think the movie ends on a definitive statement on whether or not there is free will. It lets you, the audience, come to your own conclusion about that, because there are all these red herrings and other diversions and stuff. It's like, yeah, they had to maybe follow this plot, but there's all these things that say maybe there's more going on that are more free will adjacent, and you can really look at it any way. And I don't know, how did you feel about, do you think that it was coming down one way or the other on the free will thing?
I don't think it's, I personally don't think there's an answer where Cronenberg, or rather not an answer. I don't think there's a signpost, as you put it so eloquently, that's David Cronenberg saying yes or no. Mm-hmm. I think it's more of, the only thing he's letting you know is that he's damning you for doubting. Right? Because there's one scene, again, just like the scene I brought up with her languishing around, right? There's a line of dialogue. Cronenberg is many things. Subtle is not one of them. There's a line of dialogue where the guy, there are some, we'll go over these later. There's some amazing fucking names in this movie. This guy's name is Hugo Carlaw. Hugo Carlaw. That guy is like a secret member of the realism movement. And so when he shows up later and he fucking barges in like a military guy and he shoots up her pod, he's like, they're outside, fucking explosions are going off. And she's looking around at him. He's looking at Jude Law, and Jude Law's like, is this real? Is this part of the game? What is this? And they cuts. Cronenberg specifically cuts to Hugo Carlaw, and that guy says, you see the problem? This is the problem. And I think what he's saying is, fuck you for doubting either way. Like, video games made you like this. It's almost like a damnation of the audience member, because then we get that same reprise with the Chinese waiter guy, the real life version of that guy, saying, are we still in the game or not? Because then all I hear is Hugo Carlaw saying, you see the problem? This is the problem. And that's what I feel like it is. And I don't know if that's right, but that's the thing that always resonates with me. It's almost like the way that like some horror directors are like, I put extra violence in my movies to punish you, the viewer, for being sick and watching these movies. Like, we can argue the effectiveness of that all night, but I think this is Cronenberg's version of that. Like, you play too much, you watch too many things, and now we can't differentiate from reality. How fucked are we? You doubted, you're part of that.
That's interesting. That's like, yeah, because it's like, especially in the 90s, it's this whole thing of like, oh, where do people are starting to not be able to distinguish between fact and fiction, and you have like the video games being blamed for things like Columbine and stuff like that, and all of these real world issues. And then of course, like years later, you'd have like the Dark Knight movie theater thing. You have people rightly or wrongly blaming media for people's actions in the real world, and people seemingly unable to distinguish like morality and what's going on in the real world versus what's going on in the movies. And yeah, I think, like you said, Cronenberg is bringing up those issues, but I'm still not sure that he's coming down on one side or the other, even on that. And for me, it's just like, I think he's just presenting this all as evidence to the audience and saying, here, look at all of this. What do you think? And making us try to think about this in a really critical way.
Also, how cool is the bone gun? Come on, Derick. The bone gun is cool.
Rad.
It's pretty cool.
Like
and the way he finds it within the fucking dish, and he's assembling the bones.
Yeah, he's like eating the fucking gross ass amphibians, and it's like click, click, and then he's got like the fucking molar in his mouth, and I was like, that's some time splitter shit. That was awesome.
I know. I just think the design of this is so fucking cool, and I love that it's clearly like dry and got the sort of leftover cartilage, but on the specific shot where he points at Jennifer Jason Leigh and he's like, death to Allegra Geller, right? I love that Cronenberg like made it goopy. It's just like dripping as the gun is like at her forehead. And it's just like, how much grosser can we be in this moment? I also love the reprisal of that line too, death to the demon, and then someone's name, right? Death to the demon, Allegra Geller. I love that the names, this is what I was talking about. The names of this movie are fucking ridiculous, right? Allegra Geller, that's not so bad. But you have like Yevgeny Nourish, Hugo Karlaw, Kiri Whitaker. These are names that don't mean anything. Like, there was another great, one of their fake names is like Bard Brackenish. It's just like weird. It's almost like the Star Wars problem. Like, this guy's name is like a verb and a weird last name. Snap Wexley. Like, you could just like take a weird word and then take a random last name, and that's like an eXistenZ name.
Yeah.
Right? So your name would be like Bard Carjall or something, and then it'd be like, yeah, that's a regular guy's name. That's totally normal. I do love, that's what I'm saying. Like, I love the oddity. And maybe this could just be me as someone, I've never been to Canada, but it's very Canadian. It's just like such a weird Canadian thing. Like, a Canadian guy would make up a weird Canadian sounding fake name, and it would sound extra weird to me, and I think to my American ear, and I think that's what's going on.
Yeah, and I
love
think
the design. I love the names. It's silly. It's great.
It is, and I think the names too. It's like the same thing with the accents, where it's like, oh, these names are silly and ridiculous, but actually, is that maybe on purpose? Is it like trying to draw your attention to the artifice of it? Like, and it's the same thing with the props. Like, these props are like weird and goopy, and like, and then when they go into quote unquote the real world, no one's like sticking like umbilical cords into your like back. It's like, it's still sci-fi-esque, but it's more the VR.
It's hardware. It's not.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's not gooey. Yeah.
So it's really like being like, it's more signposts once again of that, like, yeah, we're in this fake world. It's like the accents you thought were just actors doing bad. No, those are actually supposed to be bad accents. These names which sound like bad writing, it's actually bad writing in the video game, in the movie, not the movie itself.
Totally. Also, can we agree? The case that she carries her game pod in is a rollerblade case, is it not? It looks like a rollerblade. I was like, why is that there? You have all these other amazing designs for things that don't look like they're of this earth, and it's like a specific choice. Again, this is like extra fucking weird. I'm sorry to any Canadian members of the audience. Extra Canadian. Somebody being like, you know what would be the weirdest fucking thing possible in a movie with like umbilical cords and like video games that look like fetuses? It's just a fucking rollerblade case. That's what she's going to be carrying around for no fucking reason. It's weird. It catches my attention every time. Yeah, it's funny. So fucking weird. Either that or they ran out of money and they were like, look, Dimension or whoever gave us X amount of money. They're out. We made all these trouts and amphibians and shit. We don't have enough money to make our case. Fuck it. It's a rollerblade. That's what her case is.
That's one of the bigger reminders that this did come out in the 90s when rollerblading
rollerblading is cool.
Was a primary mode of transportation. She's like,
here's my currency, and she pulls out a pog. Boop. That's a fucking pog.
It has Darth Maul on it.
Is that a Janko pog? Get the fuck out of here. A lot of fun stuff in this movie. So here's a little bit of trivia that I did not realize, and I'm going to call this out because I thought it was pretty cool. Was the motel that they're staying in is actually the Rosebud Motel from Schitt's Creek, for my Schitt's Creek people out there.
Oh my gosh. I'm a Schitt's Creek
there you go.
person.
If you like Schitt's Creek,
notice that.
Guess what? You like eXistenZ.
All right. That's amazing, honestly.
There you go.
I'm just like imagining like Alexis in like the next room over now.
Moira putting some wigs on while there's like some weird umbilical cords going into spines and shit in the next room. There you go. That's for the Schitt's Creek people out there. Lots of fun performances in this. It's extra weird. My MVP of this movie, though, is Oscar. His guy's name is Oscar Sue. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. He's the man who plays Chinese waiter.
Yeah,
I am highlighting him because he's great. He stands out immediately, and he's got the best death in the movie. It looks awesome. You know we love a fake dummy on this show. Great fake dummy. When the squibs go off, he gets shot in the face by the bone gun. The bone gun in the Chinese restaurant scene is the scene of the movie, I would argue. Great fucking scene. Yeah. So lots of fun. And like I said, it's cool because for a long time, at least until Crimes of the Future, it was the last of its kind. It was the last Cronenberg body horror movie. He was like, that's it. I now just make Viggo Mortensen movies. That's what I do now. So it's kind of cool. It's a cool way for him to sort of say goodbye to 20 plus years of his filmography, kind of doing essentially a lot of the same thing. Even movies like Naked Lunch, like they all have those weird Cronenbergisms in them. M Butterfly is another one. It would be like the furthest thing away you would think of from Videodrome. Has some of the weirdest Cronenbergian shit in it. But is awesome. This is, as a movie, as my dad would say, this is a movie for perverts. He's right.
Yep.
He's correct.
No, that's like I said, that's
there you go. And Derek's perfect Inception for perverts. Right on the money. It's right on the money. If you like twisted shit, especially too if you're just getting into Cronenberg, start with eXistenZ. I would say even before you go to the hits, Videodrome and The Fly and Naked Lunch, before you do those, I would start with eXistenZ because it's almost like a nice sort of modern bridge to those movies.
It's a good litmus test to see how you'll feel about them, I think.
Absolutely. So, Derek, it feels like we're kind of coming to the close of this. Do you have anything else you want to say about eXistenZ before we close out?
Yeah, I think that I covered pretty much everything that I wanted. Yeah, the only other thing is, like, I feel like, today, this would be an episode of Black Mirror, you know?
Oh, 100%. I would love to just see them do a riff on this. Fuck it.
Right.
Nobody's seen it. Just take it and just do it. Who cares?
Yeah, that'd be cool. And then the only other thing, too, I thought was interesting was the way that the game designers are kind of treated as these celebrities. And it feels like this movie kind of predicted some stuff. It felt like it predicted the way, like, people hero worship people like Elon Musk and stuff when, like, Gas Caesar is like, oh, my God, you're the creator. Or, like, did you know, like, the end of the movie, everyone basically has an iPhone. I'm like, this movie came out in 1999. How the fuck did they predict iPhones? You know, so it felt like they, like, there was all the jokey technology stuff, but the stuff, like, some of the stuff they were actually serious about, I'm like, you kind of hit the nail on the head.
Right. Steve Jobs saw this and he was like, I don't know about that rollerblade case, but that little data pad, that's something.
Right? Yeah.
You could do something with that.
And because everyone's just, like, looking at their, and it's like, that's the thing, like, the end of the movie, they're like, we're going to kill you because you are game designers are, like, making people not want to interact and, like, not be aware of the real world. And the way they, like, show that in the real world is, like, everyone's looking at their phone and they're just obsessed with it. And when a murder happens, they don't even seem to, like, care. And
there's no reaction.
Yeah, it's like, is this not a reaction because they're NPCs or it's because everyone's so obsessed with their phone? Which, like, it sounds, if you did that today, it'd be like, oh, okay, wow, hot take, everyone's obsessed with their phone. But in 1999, that shit was, like, ahead of its time.
Yes. That's what I'm saying, dude. Aliens made this movie and are starring in this movie and telling us how to act in this movie. This is an alien movie, a real alien movie.
Yeah.
You want to see, if you want, like, some real life interdimensional cable type shit, Rick and Morty, watch eXistenZ.
It really is. Yeah.
That's totally what it is. That's totally what it is. I would highly recommend eXistenZ. Would you recommend eXistenZ?
I would recommend it if you are, like, you got to know what you're getting into, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like, this isn't one that I'm not going to recommend to, like, my parents or something, or even my brothers.
That's an interesting night. Yeah. I'll recommend it to you, but only if we watch together.
Yeah. I would recommend this to, like people who are more like cult movie fans, you know? Like, yes. I mean, I'm sure most of the people listening to this
you're in the right space, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
This, yeah. I would say if my mom watched this movie, I don't think she could make it through 10 minutes. But I think if my mom knew that I not only had seen the movie many times and actually loved this movie, she might disown me. I think that's what this movie is. I think she'd be like, that's it, you're not my son anymore.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry, enough is enough, she says. She's had enough. eXistenZ, you can watch it. It's well, like I said, there is that snazzy new 4K on Vinegar Syndrome. Did release it. Very cool. Support Vinegar Syndrome. You know we love physical media here. But if you do want to stream it, I have to give it up for Canopy. Canopy is a service you can use if you have a library card, which all of you should have, you degenerates. You should all have a library card. But you can use it. You have a fucking free streaming service. They have brand new movies, TV shows on there. They give you a certain amount of tickets each month. I discovered Canopy like 6 months ago, and I'm obsessed with it. I love it. Plus, it's where I get my culturally enriching, like, you know, I love schlock. I watch a lot of schlock. When I've had enough schlock, you know, you can only eat so many Cheetos, and you want to like watch something culturally enriching. I go to Canopy, and I get to just like watch something nice.
A movie that I know you guys talked to like a bunch of like, oh, this movie, Past Lives. That's that's.
Oh yeah, we took such low blows. Listen, people were mad at that too. We took low blows on Past Lives just because it was funny, just because it was a movie we were referencing that was at the top of everyone's list. We have no. We have no beef with Past Lives. We're happy for them. We just thought it was funny because we were like, yeah, another list, and it was like the fourth list. I was like, that's it. We're calling this one out.
No, it's funny because it was that I cracked up at that so much because it was my number one movie of the year too.
Oh, and yeah.
But I was just like, yeah, it is just such the like, oh, it's this movie. It's about a beautiful romance.
Totally.
But it's two people who can never be together and they're separated by continents and time. And you're like, it's just like the perfect movie for like, what's the fucking one to make fun? And it's not pretentious, but it's just like, this is a first time director.
Yeah.
It's like
you can't make fun of Poor Things. Poor Things has too much edge. You're right. Yeah, you have to make fun of Past Lives. It looks like a very innocent, whimsical movie. Of course, that's the one we're going to make fun of. It's like, like I'm going to say something. So, we had somebody reach out to us. We've been getting like little press inquiries here and there. And we had somebody reach out to us that was like, we want you to have this guy on your show, Matt. He's 95 years old. I'm not going to name the gentleman. He's 95 years old. He's a member of the AFI. He's directed these things. We think he would be great. And I said, have you actually listened to my fucking show at all? And then you would know we would never have this man on. And it's nothing against him. We have a show about goopy things and people blowing up, and like that's what we love. I wouldn't waste that man's time by coming onto this show. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Are you fucking kidding?
It's a different flavor for sure.
Yes,
you know?
yes. We don't begrudge the other shows. I'm just saying people know what they get when they come here. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I was like, it was such a Matt and Mark take to, like dunk on Past Lives.
I know. We got so much fucking grief. You people really do. Well, listen, we have some cult degenerates in the audience and we love you guys. But some of you, your Venn diagrams cross because I got messages like, fuck you for making fun of Past Lives. it was just there. It was there. Low-hanging fruit.
Too,
low-hanging fruit. We had to pick it. Whatever. That movie's fine. It's going to continue to have a great life. Of course, it's fine. It's like it almost is too big. It's too big to fail. Too big to fail. I want to thank my guest, Derick, for joining me and hanging out with me to watch some disgusting Cronenbergian stuff on such short notice. The man is a pro and has many amazing podcasts. Derick, tell the people where they can find you and what's up with your shows.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. Yes, as you mentioned, I have a few shows. The big one is, of course, Underrated, or, if you want. So if you just look up Underrated Movie Podcast on any of the apps or YouTube as well, it'll show up there. Matt's been, as you mentioned, kind enough to be on a few times. He was recently on our Halloween special, talking about burnt offerings. God, that was such a good movie.
So fun.
Yeah, check out Underrated Movie Podcast everywhere. I also write for a couple places. If you want to check me out, just look up Derick McDu. I write for like Watch Mojo. I write film reviews on independent film for Film Threat.
Cool.
Thank you. Yeah,
congrats on that, man. That's great.
Thank you. I've been having a lot of fun with that. And then you mentioned Patreon. I also have a Patreon as well. That's where Infinity Stones and Dragon Bones lives now, as well as Underdogs. It's a sports film podcast, which you've also been on. We talked about Slapshot.
Making it look mean, baby. Slapshot.
That was so much fun. I was so glad to talk about a hockey film, and you really brought it for that episode. So, yeah, patreon.com/underrated movie podcast, underrated movie podcast on all the places.
Yeah, go check Derick out and go check out his shows. Support them; they're really cool, and always a pleasure to pod with you, man. So thanks for coming on for this.
Yeah, likewise.
We'll be back next week. I actually returned to the movie theater. I haven't been to the theater since I saw Ferrari. We're going to be reviewing a 2024 movie. I've heard you. We're going back. Tommy Nuggets is here. Tommy Nuggets returns next week to review Imaginary, the new Blumhouse horror movie. Come on, like we weren't going to watch that movie. We're fucking going next week. We're talking Imaginary with Tommy Nuggets. Be here. We're out of here. Peace.